Yo, welcome back, man. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks, man, coming to you with another episode. A little under the weather, but still giving y'all some content. Um, Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content. If you want to follow me on IG, sports page, is scrolling down the bottom of the screen, damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. You click the link in the bio, and it'll take you right to YouTube. You can follow. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified when new content releases. If you want to follow me personally on IG is Ralph underscore Sneaks. X is Damn You Too Sports Talk. Follow me, I follow back. But yeah, man, let's get to it, man. Hopefully everybody had a safe, productive um weekend. Hopefully ain't nobody, get locked up. Hopefully everybody had fun, around good company, good friends, good family. Hopefully everybody just mentally enjoyed the days off if you had those days off. I know some people work. Their job don't give them the time off like other jobs do, but hopefully you found some time during the holidays, to grab you something to enjoy somebody's company, to be amongst good company, to be good company amongst somebody else, have good company amongst you. Um, but yeah, man, let's get to it, man. Um just a little early NBA talk, man. I'm just seeing that, surprise teams, surprise players, the surprise whether they're doing better than expected or doing worse than expected. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. I don't really understand this whole in season tournament. You know what I mean? I just feel like to me it wasn't even necessary because really, to be honest with you, how many more people are watching this in season tournament versus people that were watching games before the in season tournament even existed? You know what I'm saying? I'm just a guy that watches basketball game. I don't give a damn about the in season tourney. You know what I mean? I don't even really know the games that are being played as in season tournament games until I watch the game and I see the court is set up differently than it normally is. Um, but looking at the schedule, I don't know the upcoming games, which ones are going to be in season. I don't even know how they categorize the groups. You know what I'm saying? I don't even really know, when in this group, do you play that group, the championship. I don't know none of that shit. I just know the Lakers won it last year, and I wouldn't have known that had they not made a big deal about it. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just of the mindset like, what is it for? A whole reasoning. They said it was to boost rates and all that, but really looking at this, how much boosting of the ratings is this really doing? You know what I mean? It's numbers. You know what I mean? The numbers can always fluctuate. They can be tampered with. Um, but I'm just of the mindset. Let's just play ball. All this in season tournament shit, just to then you already in the winners. They get I know they get money, get cash or whatever, but you already paying these guys tons of money. If they need even more money to be motivated to play, then I don't know what that is. But you got a deeper issue than just the NBA. It ain't the NBA. It's the motherfuckers in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's the people that's coming into the league because it's this you didn't have this issue years ago. You know what I mean? You having this issue now, but you didn't have it years ago. So obviously, part of it is the people, the players that's coming into the league because they come into the league signing these massive contracts. You know what I'm saying? These rookie deals, they getting more money now than they ever got. So now, if you need to add an additional earnings to play this tournament for the winner of this tournament to motivate people to play and to get the ratings up, I don't know. I don't understand this shit. You know what I mean? It's beyond me. But you know what I mean? That's just how I'm feeling about it. It's beyond me. I really don't even see the excitement behind the in season tournament. You know what I mean? I'm just watching the games like I normally do. And if it's an in season tourney game, it's just an in season tourney game. It is what it is with me. But I really don't see, the logic behind it. Somebody got to sit down and explain it to me because every time I ask somebody, they don't really damn know. They just know it's a game with the court looking better than it normally do, and you know what I mean. But it is what it is, man. I really don't give a damn about it. But yeah, man. Let's get to some of these standings. Some of the, you know what I mean. Look, early NBA season talk or whatever. Let's start with the East, man. You got Cleveland leading the way at 19-3. They got a 2-game win streak going right now. It's funny because Cleveland, 2 of their 3 losses that came against the Hawks. You know what I mean? Um, They lost once to Boston and lost two to Atlanta. Um, but everybody else, they seem to be cruising past everybody else. Uh, but if you Cleveland, you gotta. I mean, I like what you gotta like what Kenny Atkinson doing over there. At first, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was questioning why they even got rid of JB Biggerstaff as the head coach. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand the move because JB Biggerstaff had those guys actually playing well in the playoffs. They ran up against Boston in the playoffs, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they took Boston 5 or 6 games in that series, and they never really had they weren't really healthy in that Boston Celtics series. You know what I'm saying? When they had Darius Garland playing, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell. When they had Donovan Mitchell playing, they didn't have Darius Garland. So neither one of those two guys were really healthy together in that series, and they still took the Boston Celtics 5 or either 6 games. I want to say six. I think it was 5 or 6 games. They fought hard. They just didn't have enough, and I just didn't understand at the time firing JB Biggerstaff. But he's over there in Detroit, and we're gonna get on down to them a little later once we move on down the standings. But I just didn't understand the move at the time. But Kenny Atkinson is paying off for him right now. They're sitting at 19-3, top of the best record in the league right now. You know what I mean? Sitting at the top of the East. But, a lot can change. A lot can, happen. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about Cleveland is you don't even judge Cleveland off the regular season no more. You need to just start basing their season success off what they do in the playoffs. You know what I mean? They one of them teams now where they can win regular season games. So winning regular season games is not really the goal for them. The goal for them is to get deep into the playoffs and get to the finals. You know what I mean? So now you're just going to have to base their regular season off of their postseason performance. So you know what I mean? It's not even the 19-3 we're looking at right now. That's good for Kenny Atkinson's first year over there, but let's see what they do in the playoffs. Let's see if they make a move at the deadline to bring anybody else in. Um, not sure who that's going to be. But if they do make a move, I don't think they need to make a major move. You know what I mean? I think they need to do something similar to what Dallas did last season with PJ Washington, that move, and Daniel Gafford, a move similar along to that. It doesn't need to be anything blockbuster. You know what I mean? So your best record in the NBA, and you're sitting at the top of the East, you don't need to make a blockbuster move. You just need to make a move to fit what you already have going on, looking into the playoffs. You know what I mean? That's the type of move you need to make if you Cleveland, if you make a move. Boston sitting at 2, second seed in the East, 17-4. They ain't really had Porzingis back. I mean, I think he's back now, but so he was one of the X factors in the finals when he did play. So if you Boston, you're not really looking to do much of nothing. You just or trade wise, I'm saying you're not really looking to do much of nothing trade wise. You got a strong chance to be back in the finals again. So I think Boston is just going they're on cruise control through the season. Um, one of their losses did come against the Hawks. You know what I mean? I'm gonna talk about the Hawks in a minute because the Hawks is an up and down roller coaster type team. They sitting at 6 right now, but I get to them once we get on down to the Orlando. Third seed, 15-8. They doing a lot of damage without Banchero right now. I didn't think that they were gonna be able to sustain it with Banchero being out, injured. Not sure how long he's gonna be out, but he's out for some time. Orlando, even though they took a bad loss against the Knicks last night, they still look good, and they're gonna get even better when Banchero gets back. And they still have assets, and they have wiggle room to make a deal for a guy or guys if they choose to. I think the Orlando Magic. I think one thing that the in-season tourney does, and this is the only thing that it, in my opinion, that it does, is if you look at teams like Orlando, if you look at teams like Atlanta, if you look at teams like Indiana, if you look at those type of teams, if those type of teams do well in this in-season tournament, that could boost confidence for that team going throughout the rest of the season. Especially if they are already a playoff type of team. Playing in a playoff style format. You know what I mean? In the season, in which that it's not gonna completely eliminate your season like the postseason would. Once you lose in the postseason, you're done. But you can lose this in-season tournament and still play the rest of the season. So it's giving those type of teams, confidence if they're winning those tournament in season tourney games. Uh, it gives them confidence throughout the rest of the season. And if you're a playoff team, it gives them confidence to feel like, damn, we already played playoff style in season tournament playoff style ball. It just wasn't a series. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like a best of 5 or best of 7 series, but it was similar play. You know what I mean? So it's just giving them a little confidence throughout the season for those type of teams. Now I'm not talking about the Bostons. I'm not talking about the teams that are expected and supposed to be there because that in-season tournament does nothing for them. Those are just games they're playing during the regular season. But I'm talking about teams that are good, but you don't really think they're good enough to be in the finals. Like Orlando is a good team, but nobody's picking them to be in the NBA finals. Like Boston is a good team, but they are expected to get to the NBA finals. You know what I mean? You're looking at Milwaukee; they are expected to get to the NBA finals. You know what I mean? Teams like that, the tourney does nothing for. But it's just those teams that are good that can make a deep run in the playoffs. The in-season tourney is good for them. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, Orlando moving on. Orlando losing to the Knicks last night. Knicks sitting in the 4th seed. I think what the Knicks need to do, the Knicks need to get a little bit deeper. They need to get a little bit more depth. I think they lost some depth when they went and got traded for Cat, but they lost DiVincenzo. Um, I really didn't like the trade. I think both teams um, really just needed to keep what they had. It just really was an unnecessary trade on both sides. You look at the Knicks. Um, they beat Philly in the playoffs last year, but a lot of the reason why they didn't go quite as far as they should have went was because they was injured, health related. You know what I mean? You had a lot of guys that were out. Those guys that were out were coming back this season. You know what I mean? For the exception of Hartenstein, he signed over there in OKC. But a lot of what the Knicks were missing in the playoffs were just bodies because of injury. You know what I mean? They wasn't missing players that couldn't do certain things. They were just missing players that didn't play because they were injured. So I didn't really see the whole point of that trade. You know what I mean? But I mean, the Knicks are getting the better end of the trade because Minnesota's not looking the same so far this season that they looked last season. So I really didn't understand that trade at all from either part, from either the Knicks or the Minnesota Timberwolves. But it just so happened that the Knicks are now getting the better end of the trade. Uh, it really didn't need to happen, but it happened. And I think Cat himself was even blindsided by the trade. We all were. You know what I mean? That wasn't nothing that we was expecting. That wasn't even nothing that was rumored or being talked about. It was just something that just, it didn't happen one day and then boom, the next day it happened. You know what I mean? So if you the Knicks, I think you might need to get a little bit more depth. You know what I mean? Losing DiVincenzo, even though you added Mikal Bridges, you know what I'm saying? The Knicks are sitting 13-8. They're on a 3-game win streak. But like I said, man, they could stand. They could use another piece coming off the bench. Like I said, losing DiVincenzo was something that I didn't think that was gonna happen. I didn't even think trade was gonna happen, but it did. But I think that's what the Knicks could use. But needless to say, they 4th seed right now. Milwaukee done bounced back nicely because they had a horrible start to the season. You know what I mean? Milwaukee's one of them teams that you're looking at like, okay, this is Doc Rivers. He now has a full season. You know what I mean? He's also been dealing with injuries with Chris Middleton. But the thing with Milwaukee is, I don't know what the hell is going on with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton combined with his age and his injury history, you know what I mean? That's not going to be a good look for Milwaukee. I think that they I don't know how they're going to move off Chris Middleton. Um, this is now Darvin Ham, the former Laker coach, is now over there on the staff in Milwaukee with Doc Rivers. Um, Milwaukee coming into the season were playing. They needed to take. They now you got a full season with Doc. You know what I mean? The excuse was last year he came into the season uh, not with a full season. But you got to understand that last year when the Milwaukee Bucks moved off of Adrian Griffin, the Milwaukee Bucks were a damn good team. The Milwaukee Bucks were one of the better teams in the league. They were at the top of the Eastern Conference. They was either first or second seed somewhere along the way, and they had either the they had a top 3 record in the NBA, and they were a top 2 seed in the East at the time when Adrian Griffin got fired. That firing was blindsiding. You know what I mean? I ain't know what the hell they was doing when they did that. So the excuse was Doc didn't get a full season with the Bucks. Now he has a full season with the Bucks. They started crazy, and I already gave y'all the rundown on why I thought the Bucks were struggling. I thought the Bucks were struggling because they lost point of attack defense when they lost Drew Holiday and traded for Dame Lillard. You know what I mean? Drew Holiday was the defender at the point of attack defensively. So you wasn't just breaking down Drew Holiday the way you can break down Dame Lillard and get into the teeth of the defense and drive, kick, find open shooters, or finish at the rack. You wasn't breaking Drew Holiday down like that. So that point of attack defense, they lost that when they traded away Drew Holiday and added Dame Lillard. So they added more offense but lost defense. And as a result, when you're struggling on offense, that's even worse because the guy's not a defending what you lost in Drew Holiday. So that's what I thought what was going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. Then they come back and start this season off even worse, but they bounced back nicely. They won 7 in a row. They done climbed all the way from where they were towards the bottom of the East. They were like next to last at one point in the East. Then now they all the way up to the 5th seed, 11-9. And I understand the Eastern Conference is the weaker of the two conferences, but I got to give credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? They done won 7 in a row. They done went from where they were in the season all the way up to the 5th seed. So I got to give credit where credit is due. Atlanta, let's Atlanta 500 team, roller coaster team, up and down. Of course, they traded away DeJounte Murray. He's over there in the Pelicans. But the guys that have been doing it for Atlanta has been Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson. Not to mention Trae Young. The thing about Trae this year is he's leading the league in assists again. I think he's averaging like 12 or 13, something like that. He just had a 22 assist game a couple games ago. This is a team that has beaten the Cleveland Cavs. 3 of the Cleveland Cavs lost. They've beaten Cleveland twice. So 2 of Cleveland Cavaliers' losses that came against the Hawks. They beat Cleveland on back-to-back, once in Atlanta, once in Cleveland, and they beaten the Boston Celtics. So if you look at a team like the Hawks, they just have to find some consistency. Right now, they 2 up and down, 2 up and down. They're a team that have beaten Cleveland twice, and they're also the same team that has lost to the Washington Wizards twice. Matter of fact, that might be the only 2 wins the Washington Wizards may have came against the Hawks. So you're looking at Atlanta, they just got to find some consistency right there. I think they need to upgrade Clint Capella. Now, if you're looking at a team like Chicago Bulls, who got Nikola Vucevic on the trade block, Lonzo Ball on the trade block, Zach LaVine on the trade block. You may look into Vooch. I would. That's a guy who can shoot the mid range, who can shoot the 3 ball. That's a guy who can create, who can space the floor from the center position, because you damn sure can't do it with Clint Capella, and you can't do it with Double O or Yeko Kongawal. You can't do it with those guys. So I think getting a guy like Vucevic in there, and I think this is what the Hawks needed ever since they made that Eastern Conference Finals run and got bounced in the Eastern Conference Finals by Milwaukee. I think they've been needing a floor spacing big since then. And they've had a couple opportunities to go and get a floor spacing big, and they haven't. You know what I mean? You're looking at 2 of them that were on the trade block in Indiana. It was Sabonis and Miles Turner. I think you could have got either one of those guys, and you didn't get either one of them. So now it's evident that you need a floor spacing big. Vucevic, I think he's a 20 and 10 guy. He's averaging at least 20 and 10, 20 and at least 10 boards in Chicago. I'm not saying he's going to give you 20 and 10 in Atlanta, but I think he can still be serviceable and give you about 16 and 12. You know what I mean? So rebounding, you won't probably lose as much, but you'll be getting a big that can knock down a perimeter jumper, space the floor, and hit the 3 ball. You know what I mean? So if you give a guy a center, if you give Trae a center like that, ain't no telling how many more assists he probably could average, because now you no longer have to worry about just picking and rolling to the basket. You can pick and pop, because Vucevic can now hit that mid-range shot that Capella can't and Double O can't. So, you know what I mean? That would do wonders for Atlanta, in my opinion. And I think that Clint Capella could be a valuable asset to move if you the Hawks, because Clint Capella, if I'm not mistaken, is on an expiring contract. So if you're looking to move Clint Capella, and I think Vucevic, I think he has one more year on his deal after this season. So if you Atlanta, you get a guy that still has another year remaining on his contract. So you don't necessarily, you could kind of take a little time to decide whether you want to trade him. I think Vucevic in his early 30s or something like that. So I'm not sure if you want to be tied up longer. So you don't necessarily have to make that decision right away whether you want to give him an extension or not. He still got another year left on his deal. So you can kind of take your time to determine whether you want to extend him if you make the move to trade for him. But from Chicago's standpoint, you'll be getting a center back on an expiring contract. You won't be tied up another year at the center position like you would if you keep Vucevic. Now Lonzo Ball, I'm not sure what the picks is. You might have to get a third team involved or whatever. But if you Atlanta, what I would do if I don't have the picks at my disposal that the Chicago Bulls may be wanting, I may be willing to take Lonzo off your hand to salvage a pick. You know what I mean? I don't have the picks that you want, but I'm willing to take Lonzo off your hand. So two of the three guys that you got on the trade block, I'm willing to take two of them off your hand. If you take this expiring contract back and if you throw in, I don't know, a young player, I don't know if they need another guard or not, which they're probably gonna draft one. I don't know which direction they're gonna go in the draft, but you got a guy if you Atlanta like Kobe Buffkin, you know what I mean? I mean, how much time is he really gonna get behind Trey? You know what I mean? So um if you Atlanta, you might want to consider that. You know what I mean? I don't have the picks. But what I can do is I can probably take back Lonzo. I mean, because Chicago brought in Josh Giddey. You know what I mean? They got Kobe White there. I mean, you could throw Kobe Buffkin in there. You know what I mean? I don't think Atlanta really has a serviceable backup point guard. You know what I mean? So at this point, that's what you would be bringing Lonzo in. And I don't think Lonzo is tied up long term. Hold on. Let me double check. Um, I was reading. Let me see how long Lonzo Ball contract is. Okay, so Lonzo Ball is on an expiring contract. You know what I mean? At 21.3 mil. So he come off the books at the end of the season. You know what I mean? Um, that may be, that may be an option. Um, now I'm not sure what his injury is and how long he gonna hold up. But if you look at Vucevic's contract, Vucevic, like I said, he got another year. He won't be a free. Well, he's getting paid 20 this year, and he'll be getting 21.4 next year. So, um, so you'll be bringing in about 41 million, 42 mil back. You know what I mean? Moving off some players or whatever. I mean, just something if you Atlanta to think about. Uh, Upgrading the big. Like you said, you got Trey. I think he just need to get his more consistent with his shots. You know what I mean? Right now his shooting percentages are low, but you know what I mean, his assist is up. You know what I mean? He's being that floor general point guard. They got a defensive wing to play alongside him. Dyson Daniels, they can chip in and give you 15, 16, and take on the other team's best perimeter player. Jalen Johnson is emerging. You know what I mean? He's a 20 and 10 type of guy. Um, so yeah, and the rookie Orisha they drafted with the first overall pick, he's looking all right. You know what I mean? He's not looking bad at all. You know what I mean? He has his up and down games, as so does every other player or every other rookie. You know what I mean? But he's kind of getting into the flow of the game. You know what I mean? So if you Atlanta, you just gotta upgrade that center position, in my opinion. And once you do that, not just any center. It's got to be a floor spacing center. Like I said, Chicago right now would be a perfect option. In my opinion, if I'm Atlanta, I'm reaching out to Chicago and see what it take to get Vucevic out of there. And he's not on an expiring deal. He got one more year after this season. So, you know what I mean? That's the route I would go if I was Atlanta. Moving on, the Heat at the 7th seed right now. Not sure what the hell is going on with Jimmy Butler. Um, you know, they're below 500, 9-10. They're on a 2-game losing streak. So not sure if they're gonna make a move. Now it was rumored this offseason that the Houston Rockets were interested in or interested in Jimmy Butler. I think that would have been a good move from Miami's standpoint because the Houston Rockets got some pretty interesting pieces over there. That if you Miami, you definitely could utilize. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see the Heat doing much of nothing. You know what I mean? Playoffs, but I don't see them really making a run in the playoffs. Um, I don't really understand how the Heat do it. You know what I mean? If you look at their roster, it's just like it's just culture and coaching. That's all it could be because you don't really see a ton of guys over there like high caliber players, star players over there. You know what I mean? I don't think you really count Jimmy Butler as a superstar player. You don't count Bam Adebayo as a superstar player. You don't count Duncan Robinson as a superstar player. You don't really. I don't even really think you count those guys as star players now. You know what I mean? Tyler Hero. You're not. It's just a collective. It's just a team atmosphere, there, chemistry, and just the culture over there and coaching. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But I think that's kind of winding down because Jimmy ain't being Jimmy. So you know what I mean? If you probably somebody like Golden State, you know what I mean? You throwing Kaminga, or Andrew Wiggins. You know what I mean? You got guys that you could salary match and move. You got a young player in Kaminga, and you got a guy in Wiggins that you could use. To get back another piece. Um, maybe like I said, Vucevic, but I mean, you got something to work with if you want to try to make a move as you go to state, if you're willing to move off those pieces. But if you go to state, I guess you're gonna see what you're looking like around trade deadline time. But as far as Miami, I don't really see them doing much this season. Um, right now they a game below 500, 2 game losing streak. Um, Not sure if they can or will kick it into gear. Like I said, the Eastern Conference is the weak of the two, but you know what I mean. I just don't see it for Miami right now. Chicago, I just mentioned them. They got 3 guys they're trying to trade. Zach LaVine, they tried this offseason, they couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Vucevic, Lonzo. Um, but they right there, right behind the Heat. Um, they 9-13. You know what I mean? They're in the 8th spot. But I just really don't. I think Chicago is really trying. I think somebody else is on the trade block. I can't remember who it was, but it was another name on the trade block. But it seemed like Chicago always looking to sell, and then they don't, and then they make the play in, and then that's about it. You know what I mean? So same thing here. But I think one of those pieces that they're trying to trade will move. Um, and like I said, if I'm Atlanta, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling to see what I can get, what it'll take for me to get Vucevic. That's just me. Um, Brooklyn, 9-13. Well, actually, you got those from the 7th seed to the 11th seed, all got 9 wins. You got Miami at 9-10, Chicago 9-13, Brooklyn 9-13, Indy 9-13, Detroit 9-14. Um, Now I'm kind of shocked at Indiana. You know what I mean? Tyrese Halliburton struggling so far to start this season. Not really having the same season so far that he had last season. Haven't heard a whole lot from Pascal Siakam. They got guys that were missing in action last season that they got back this year. But it's just something just not going. Something just. I guess it just starts with Tyrese Halliburton. His struggles then kind of spilt over into uh, other players on the team. You know what I mean? So he definitely ain't having the start to this season like he had last season. And I think that's pretty much what Indiana's issue is right now. It's just the struggles with Halliburton. You know what I mean? So I think once he get it going, I think you'll start to see the Pacers kind of climb up because they got some guys back that they didn't have last season. You know what I'm saying? You still got Miles Turner there. You still got Pascal Siakam there. Obi. Um, I think it just starts with him. I think his struggles is kind of uh, spilling throughout the team. You know what I mean? I think once he get himself going, that this Indiana Pacers team will start to kind of climb up the seed, climb up the standings in the East. The Detroit Pistons 9-14. Detroit was one of my teams. I told y'all I predicted to be a play-in team with a good chance to make the playoffs. Uh, And I'm gonna stick by that because they brought some veterans in. You know, JB Biggerstaff, the former head coach of the Cleveland Cavs last year, he's now head coaching in Detroit. Um, you know, they brought in Tobias Harris, they brought in Tim Tim Hardaway Jr., Kate Cunningham still there, Jay Navi still there, Isaiah Stewart still there, Durant still there. They still got guys there. You know what I mean? I think this is what JB Biggerstaff is doing. I think um, you now have the Detroit Lions under Dan Campbell head coaching has turned that team around, has turned the city around, has gotten, you know, the city rallying behind them, has got the guys believing, and Detroit Lions are looking damn good. So I think JB Biggerstaff is going to kind of follow suit of what Dan Campbell did to the Detroit Lions in the NFL. I think he's going to follow suit and do that with the Detroit Pistons. In Detroit. You know what I mean? I think he's going to bring the Detroit Pistons back. You know, starting. You know, even though this is first season, I think this is just where it starts. You know what I mean? The same way it had to start somewhere for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. This is what JB Biggerstaff is doing. I think this is how it's going to have to start um, with turning this franchise around in Detroit. The city is rallying behind the Detroit Lions. I think JB Biggerstaff is going to get these guys playing some inspiring ball. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, so I don't want nobody to come up here or nobody saying I said that the Detroit Pistons about to make a deep run this year. No, I think this is what JB Biggerstaff is starting with the culture of this team to get it turned around. Because Dan Campbell didn't turn the Detroit Lions around the first year he was there. He got them playing better, and over time they turned around to be what you see them is now. So I think that's the similar approach that JB Biggerstaff is coming into Detroit with. He's looking at what Dan Campbell and how he did it with the Detroit Lions. I think he's going to try to do it and bring the Detroit Pistons back. At least you can look at the Detroit Pistons and say they were something. You know what I mean? The Detroit Lions, you can't really look at I mean, what's the best season Detroit Lions had since Dan Campbell's been there previously? What were the best seasons that Detroit Lions had? They've had far more worse seasons than good seasons. So the Detroit Pistons, at least they can say they had the bad boy Pistons where they won, and they had the Pistons um, where Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, they had a solid team in which they won there. So you can look back and say the Pistons did have something versus what you can look back and say what the Detroit Lions had. Um, so I think it starts here. Um, they're a feisty team. You know what I mean? You got to play 4 quarters to beat them. And it was some games last year that they lost. They lost a lot of games last year because they didn't know how to finish. You know, they just didn't know how to play in the fourth, and they gave the game up midway through the fourth. So I think this is where JB Biggerstaff and the Detroit Pit, and like I said, they brought in some veterans with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris. You know what I mean? So they brought in a couple of veterans who can still chip in and contribute. So I think that's where the Detroit Pistons are headed, and that was the team. That was my surprise team in the East to make the play in. Now once they get in the play in, I think they will still have a pretty solid chance to beat somebody and possibly get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Depending on what seed it is that they get in the play-in tournament. But Toronto, 12 seed, 7-15. RJ Barrett is, kind of looking like what RJ Barrett or what they thought RJ Barrett should have looked like with the Knicks. But as far as everybody else in Toronto, Scotty Barnes, Manuel Quickly, there's not really much for them to do. You know what I mean? I think this was just a kind of almost like a rebuilding type of thing. Well, not really rebuilding because you got guys that they can. I mean, you're not tanking. You know what I mean? So I think this is it for Toronto. You know what I mean? This is just doing what they can do. Now, I'm not sure if they're gonna make a move at the deadline or should they make a move at the deadline or what the case may be. But Toronto is what Toronto is. The Charlotte Hornets, 13th seed. Um, I think they 6-15. Lamelo's been playing out of his mind. I think he injured right now, but he was playing at an MVP level until he got hurt. Um, it's just too bad that he couldn't get the other guys to join him. Um, Brandon Miller, solid. I think Brandon Miller last year, if it wasn't for Victor Wembanyama being in his class, I think Brandon Miller had a solid rookie season. I think he was good enough to be rookie of the year if it wasn't for Victor Wembanyama. You know what I mean? Outside of that, he played good. It's just that nobody really paid attention because he was in Charlotte. Um, and he's continuing to play well. I think this is just a team that they got Miles Bridges back. Um, I think this is a team that probably could make a move. Uh, because they have Melo playing at the MVP level until he gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Um, but if you the Charlotte Hornets, you got something to hang your head on. You know what I mean? You got Melo Ball playing at a high level. You just got to worry about his injury and his health. You know what I'm saying? Brandon Miller, your second year player, is playing damn good. Um, you just got to put the pieces together. I think it starts with the coaching. You got to get a no nonsense type of guy in there. Somebody that's really want to change the culture in Charlotte. You know what I mean? Somebody that really wants to get in the mix. Because if you look at the Eastern Conference, it's not as strong as the Western Conference. So there's no reason why these teams shouldn't be making moves trying to get better. I just think it's all about the culture, the identity, the chemistry, and all that from the head coaching position. You know what I'm saying? I think you got to get a guy in there that truly wants to turn that culture around and standing on business about doing it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just really what it is because you have a young player that can distribute the ball, that can put the ball in the hole in Melo. Like I say, one thing you got to worry about him was injuries. And then you got a nice complimentary player in Brandon Miller. You know what I mean? He's a young, nice complimentary player. So Grant Williams, he's done for the season. I think he tore his ACL. But he's not a guy that I was going to throw in the mix to say that he was going to be the reason that the Hornets turn their season around and possibly make playoffs. I wasn't going that far to say that, but I was just naming some pieces and things they had to build off of. You know, 6-15, they on a 6-game losing streak. I mean, I'm not, um, I think that's where it starts. It got to start with a coach that want to change the culture and identity in Charlotte. I think that's where it starts. You know what I mean? Because you have young enough guys there to do it. You know what I mean? I think the Charlotte Hornets, if they get the right person in there that want to change the identity around, similar to what the Orlando Magic did. You know what I mean? They changed the identity around. They got that one player in Bankero who hoops. And the Charlotte Hornets got that one player that hoops in Melo. You know what I mean? And Brandon Miller. So if Orlando did it, I think the Charlotte Hornets can kind of follow suit on how they did it and do it. But as of now, they the 13th seed, 6-15. They're on a 6-game losing streak. The Philadelphia 76, well, the Washington Wizards only got 2-17. Like I said, the 2 wins they have, I think they came against the Hawks. But the Philadelphia 76ers, 14th seed, um, they got a lot going on in the city of brotherly love. I think Embiid wants to be traded. He just don't want to outright say it because he don't want to be looked at as the bad guy. I think he's just going to wait till the Philadelphia 76ers to trade him so he can say, I didn't ask to be traded. That's what they did. Uh, that's what it seems like because I think what they need to do is they need to create some type of rule where you can block these players from going to play Team USA ball because there was no reason for the Philadelphia 76ers to allow Joel Embiid to play Team USA ball halfway across the world, and then he comes back and he ain't ready to go after signing a 3-year, $190-something million max extension, and you telling me you ain't ready to go, and I'm the one that gave you that contract, and you signed it, and you go halfway around the world, and somehow you healthy enough to play Team USA ball halfway across the world, but then when you come back, you can't be ready to play for me, and I just gave you a 3-year, $190-something million contract extension, and then on top of that, you come out and say that you're not playing back to backs. Then on top of that, you get into a altercation with a reporter, in which you shoved him. Then on top of that, you get called out by Tyrese Maxey in a players only meeting. And on top of that, you pissed off because it got leaked. So one thing about it is, all this is telling me is, one, these are just antics and shit that Embiid is doing. Now, if Embiid is really injured, then that raises the question even more. Why the hell would you allow him to go play Team USA ball when he ain't even available to play for the Sixers. So you allow him to go halfway across the world and play for Team USA, but now he ain't available for the Sixers, the team that, like I said, just gave you 3 year, $190-something million contract extension. That'd be the bullshit I be trying to tell y'all about. I think they're gonna put something in. Now, all NBA owners are not gonna stop their players from going. I think they're just gonna stop the ones that are injury prone from going, like Embiid. There's no way Embiid should have went over and played Team USA ball. Let the Team USA go and find another center. You're not even healthy enough to play for us, but you healthy enough to go halfway across the world and play for them, play for Team USA. That's there. I mean, I'm calling bullshit. You know what I mean? So, like I said, all this is just looking like Embiid may want to be wants to be traded, because it was rumored that he was mad with the organization that they didn't go after and keep Jimmy Butler. That's where it started, and then when they had a chance to go back and possibly trade for Jimmy Butler, they didn't do that. Instead, they signed Paul George. Now Paul George is injured. So if you the Philadelphia 76ers, you went out and signed an injury-prone player to come and play with another injury-prone player, and now both of you guys out. Uh, Tyrese Maxey, McCain is stepped up nicely. The guard out of Duke. But if you the Philadelphia 76ers, this ain't what you signed up for. This right here is an indication that you need to clean house. The process didn't work, and you can't get out the second round of the playoffs. You just lost to the Knicks last year in the first round. Um, on top of that, it's not like you can't get past one particular team in the playoffs. You got beat by the Knicks last year in the first round. Then you've gotten beat by the Boston Celtics. You've gotten beat by the Miami Heat. You've gotten beat by the Atlanta Hawks. You've gotten beat by the Toronto Raptors. You done got beat by several different teams that have went further than you. You can't get out the second round. Um, you got rid of Ben Simmons for James Harden. That didn't work. You went from Brent Brown as your coach to Doc Rivers as your coach to getting rid of Doc to now Nick Nurse as your coach. And that don't seem to be working. So if you the Philadelphia 76ers, you might need to blow this thing completely. Now you might need to demolition this thing, tear this thing all the way down and build it from scratch. And I'm talking about Daryl Morey too. Get him out of there. So if you're gonna clean house, clean house. But I think what they need to do is they need to keep Daryl Morey until they can get all they can get for Embiid, if that's the plan to move Embiid. You know what I mean? So you don't want to fire Daryl Morey and then bring another rookie or less experienced GM in to try to move a star player like Embiid, because other GMs are going to take advantage of that, and you're not going to get the maximum back that you should get for Embiid. So I think they need to keep Daryl Morey, allow him to get the most that they can get back by moving Embiid. And once Embiid is moved and they got the most back in return for Embiid, then you get rid of Daryl Morey, because that's the last big piece you got. You just signed Paul George. You're not really, I mean, you're not really going anywhere. You're sitting down there, you're next to last in the Eastern Conference. And it's been a horrible start to your season. And I already knew it was going to be a bad season, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. But I knew it was going to be bad when Embiid came out and said he ain't playing back to backs. So Embiid is pretty much doing the Ben Simmons route. He's got his money, you know what I mean, and now he ain't playing. And Ben is wanted out. Embiid want out, but I don't think Embiid want to let people know he want out. He just wants the organization to go ahead and trade him. So once that happens, he can say, "I didn't ask to be traded." That's what they did. So he wants to kind of save face from the criticism and being the bad guy in this situation. But they already looking at you as the bad guy. So for Maxie to have to call you out in a meeting, I'm sitting there scratching my head wondering how long has this been going on for him having to call you out? And if it's been going on for a while, the organization has been allowing it to happen. And now it's kind of reached to the point where somebody had to say something, and out of all people, Tyrese Maxey did, and now it's looking worse, and now you're mad because it got leaked out. Well, if you don't want information to get leaked out, how about not doing it? If you wasn't showing up late for shit, then there wouldn't be shit to leak. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have got called out, and that information wouldn't have got leaked out because you wouldn't have been late. But the fact that you had to get called out for being late to team events and meetings and shit like that, you probably was late for that damn meeting. You know what I mean? That's why Maxie said something about it, because your ass walked in late for that one. But if you're a Philly fan, you got a lot to worry about. If you in Philly right now, the city got a lot to worry about. The city of brotherly love ain't getting no brotherly love from the Sixers.
right now. And that's the deal what's going on with Philly. But let's run through the Western Conference real quick. OKC 16-5, sitting at the top. Houston's second seed, um 15-7. I think the Houston Rockets is an interesting team. I think Houston was another team, was a surprise team in the Western Conference. I said that they could make the playoffs. Um, but I didn't. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to y'all. I didn't think they were gonna be a 2 seed. I thought that they could be like right there on the brinks of playing and beating somebody to get in the playoffs. That's what I thought about this team because Ime Udoka having winning pedigree coming from the Greg Popovich tree, San Antonio, and then going over there being with the Boston Celtics organization and coaching those guys. So he has a winning mentality. He has a winning pedigree, and he has a mixture of young players and veteran players in Houston, and he got assets, and they're pretty deep. Um, so you bringing that mentality over there to Houston with Fred VanVleet, who has a championship and from Toronto days, Dylan Brooks, who's a defender and a villain. You know what I mean? And then you got a young nice center in Sangoon. You still got Jabbar Smith over there. You still got Reed Shepard, who you drafted with the third pick. You still got Cam Whitmore. You still got one of the Thompson twins over there. So you solid over there. And they got a young player over there that Ime Udoka compares to a young Kawhi Leonard. So you got pieces, you got picks, and it was rumored that they already tried to get Jimmy Butler this offseason. But obviously that didn't happen. They already said that when the Milwaukee Bucks were spiraling down or whatever, and they was talking about teams monitoring Giannis. The Houston Rockets already said they're not breaking up their core guys to go and try to get Giannis. So they pretty confident in the guys that they got, and they are pretty set with assets that if they want to go and make a blockbuster move, they have the assets to do it. So if you Houston, you in a damn good position. Um, you know, second seed in the West, um, playing good ball. And Jalen Green over there. I forgot about Jalen Green. Jalen Green's over there. So you got young talent and you got players that's actually playing um, and buying into the nonsense that Ime Udoka is bringing over there. So you don't have, and I haven't seen it, but you don't have Jalen Green over there doing childish shit. You know what I mean? Not calling him a child, but I'm saying like some of the stuff that he was doing when I can't forget the previous guy that was head coaching over there before Ime Udoka got there. It kind of looked like Jalen Green was being hard headed. He wasn't being coachable. But now that Ime Udoka's over there, he ain't putting up with the bullshit. So you're falling in line, and as a result, this is what you get. You got a mixture of young players, you got a mixture of vet guys over there, and Steven Adams is over there too. So you got a mixture of guys over there, and you got a no nonsense type of coach with winning mentality. So this is what you get if you Houston, your second seed in the West, behind OKC. And I think that if Houston does make a move, um, it doesn't necessarily have to be a blockbuster move. It can be a move similar to what the Dallas Mavs made when they acquired PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. It could be something similar to that. You know what I mean? It ain't gotta be nothing big and it ain't gotta be nothing much. And I think that the Houston Rockets is another OKC. As far as the assets they have, the talent that they have, they disposed to trade and bring back a bigger piece if they want. Because OKC has a ton of picks. They got young players, and they just brought in Alex Caruso, who's a vet type of guy. Then you got Hartenstein, who's a vet type of guy over there. So they have a mixture of young players and vet players with a ton of assets, similar to what Houston has. Um, a mix of young players and vet players and assets to move, whether it's picks or players. So those two are similar in my opinion, and they sitting at those two teams sitting at the top. OKC 1 and Houston is 2 seed. Dallas right now, the 3 seed, and I don't think Kyrie's getting enough credit how he's continuing to play and carry this team and keep them afloat since Luka's injury. Um, they not gonna talk about how Kyrie has been a leader for that team and doing what he's doing and keeping that team afloat in a tougher Western Conference. And they sitting at the 3 seed right now. But like I said, those were some good underrated moves what the Dallas Mavs did by adding Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington and moving off of Grant Williams. Um, so Lively's playing well, Gafford is playing well, PJ Washington is playing well. Um,
Kyrie and Luka have found out how to play well. They win the finals last year. They lost, but they were in the finals last year. Um, and I think that with Jason Kidd over there, I think I mean, you're not giving Kyrie enough credit. You know what I mean? As soon as he do something, it's blasted all over the media. But now that this man is, and I don't think he was a filled with drama. You know what I mean? I just think people were looking. He wasn't the type of player that people wanted him to be, and they was just finding something to put on him to kind of hold him down or whatever. But since he's been over there in Dallas, ain't nobody really saying much of nothing about Kyrie. You know what I mean? They thought Kyrie was just gonna go over there and not want to be there and ask out and cause all kind of drama and chemistry issues over there in Dallas, but that ain't been the case. The man has been to the finals since he's been over there in Dallas, and ain't nobody said a damn thing about how Kyrie leadership. You know what I mean? I think Kyrie has grown um, and gotten better with leadership skills, and nobody's giving him credit for that. You know what I mean? Kyrie clearly is not the same player from a leadership standpoint that he was when he was in his Boston days. You know what I mean? But nobody's giving him credit for that. They just waiting on him to do something that they don't like so they can blast him in the media for that. But ain't nobody talking about how Dallas is a third seed in the West right now, and how Kyrie leadership with those guys and the type of team that they have. Nobody's talking about that. You know what I mean? But I'm a shout out and give kudos to Kyrie if nobody else do. I like what they're doing over there in Dallas. Third seed behind OKC and Houston, and I think they're gonna make some more noise when Luka get back. You know what I mean? Now Luka ain't playing a lick of defense, but that's what you have those other guys for. You know what I mean? And like I said, kudos to Kyrie and keeping these guys afloat while Luka's down. You know what I mean? But nobody's talking about that. But fourth seeded team, Memphis, they look much better since John Morant's return. 14-8. This is a team. Uh, they probably could make a move to. But being the fourth seed, and the team looking the way they look with Ja's return, I'm not even sure if that's necessary. You know what I'm saying? But I like what Memphis is looking like now, fourth seed behind Dallas. Well, actually, they both got the same record, so Dallas is pretty much got the tiebreak over them, head-to-head matchup. So that's why they behind Dallas in the fourth. The Clippers. I'm surprised at the Clippers right now. James Harden, you're not really hearing a lot from him. Ty Lue, coaching them over there. Kawhi, not playing. So you're looking at what they doing over there with the Clippers. I mean, you got to give Ty Lue credit. You know what I mean? You lost Paul George for nothing. So you didn't get nothing back on the return from losing Paul George. Remember, Paul George is outright signed in free agency over there with the Sixers. So they didn't get nothing in return for losing Paul George. Kawhi Leonard's not playing. And you're relying and leaning on James Harden, who is past his prime. But he's still doing what he got to do out there in LA to keep this team, him and Ty Lue, to keep this team where they at, which is right now a fifth seed. Not sure how long it's going to last, but right now they're in the fifth seed as I'm speaking. So that's what we got to go off of. Behind them is Phoenix, 12-8. They're on a 2-game win streak. Budenholzer coaching over there. The Booker, Bill, Katie. I think Katie rolled his ankle last night. Not sure how severe it is, if he misses time, and how much time he misses if he misses time. But that's kind of, I mean, the West is tough over there. It's tough because if you look at the 500 Atlanta Hawks at 11-11, that's the 6th seed. I think they 6 or 7. I think they might be 6th seed in the East right now. The Hawks are 6th seed at a 500, 11-11. But the Minnesota Timberwolves are a 500 team at 10-10, and they are the 11th seed. They are out of the playoffs currently, with the same 500 record as the Hawks over in the East. That is a 6th seed. So that's how tough the Western Conference is versus the Eastern Conference. You know what I'm saying? Golden State 12-8. They done slid a little bit. But I think Golden State, like you said, like I said earlier, I think Golden State, if they want to make a move, they could package up, a Kuminga and an Andrew Wiggins, and future picks or whatever, because I don't think Steph Curry is interested in rebuilding. He's still trying to win. As long as he's a Golden State Warrior, he wants to try to win. Um, but they still have room to make a deal if need be. You know what I mean? Like I said, package up Wiggins. Um, Not sure how long Wiggins got left on this deal, but it can't be too much more longer. And then you get a young player in Kaminga who's not really he can't find no consistency in the lineup. You know what I mean? Kerr got him in, Kerr got him out. Kerr got him in, Kerr got him out. As a starter, that is. So, you know what I mean? One rumor that was floating around earlier in the season could it be a possibility that Jimmy Butler for Kaminga type of deal? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I put the question up on the IG page in the notes. You know what I mean? If you didn't, I mean, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. The Denver Nuggets. Um, 11-8. You know, Jamal Murray, in my opinion, ain't quite looking the same as he did last year, the previous year. You still got Michael Porter there. You still got Aaron Gordon there, Jokic, of course. I think they need a shooting guard. I mean, I think they need a shooter. With the addition of Russell Westbrook, um, I think they need a guard. You know what I mean? Not sure because they lost Caldwell Pope. You know, he's over there in Orlando. So, I'm thinking they need a guard. Not sure how much wiggle room they got or how much, they can go out and afford one, what type of guard they can afford. But you know, uh it's just, one guard that come to mind, I don't think it's gonna happen because I don't think Minnesota's gonna trade. DiVincenzo is not happy with his role in Minnesota. You know what I mean? So I don't think Minnesota, they damn sure probably ain't gonna trade DiVincenzo over there to Denver to another contending team. That ain't gonna happen. But a player like DiVincenzo, I think will fit nice over in Denver. I think that would give them some defensive, and he could be a starter. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I think DiVincenzo can be a starter. You know what I mean? That'll give them some perimeter defense as well as a guy that can also score the ball. Um, you know, but that's just that's just my opinion. I think they need a guard. You know what I mean? A shooter. Um, there's some couple other guys that come to mind, but I don't think that the Denver Nuggets have that much wiggle room to bring in that much salary for that type of guy that I'm thinking of. But I think that's what they need. 11-8. They eighth seed in the West right now. The Lakers holding on to that ninth spot, 12-9. JJ Redick, first year head coach over there. I don't think they have wiggle room for to make a move either. They keep dangling D'Lo out there, but they keep showing inconsistency with D'Lo. He's in the starting lineup, he's out the starting lineup, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. And then they keep putting Gabe Vincent in there. Gabe Vincent that had more games where he didn't play enough minutes to score and ain't scored. Then he didn't have games where he's actually scored. So I don't think they really have enough to get the type of player back that they want. They could make a move, but I don't think the moves that they can make based off what they have, the player they're gonna get is pretty much gonna keep the team the same. It's not gonna make them worse. It's not gonna make them better. But the type of player that they need, the type of player that they want, I don't think they have enough assets, and I don't think nobody's biting on that. You know what I mean? I don't think that a lot of teams is going to do business. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, how I'm thinking in my mind. I don't think a lot of teams is going to do business with the LA Lakers if it's true what Rich Paul did by calling teams, threatening them not to draft Bronny James, or else they were going to go overseas and not play for y'all, and they're going to go overseas. If that's the case, and Rich Paul did call other GMs and other teams and threaten them not to draft Bronny, then I don't think teams are going to help the Lakers and do them a favor by doing business with them as far as giving them trading them players. And they damn sure ain't gonna do it for Gabe Vincent and D'Lo and Austin Rivers and a pick that you probably can't get to 2029. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? I don't think they're gonna pretty much do that. I think the whole agenda over there with the Lakers, and you can kind of see the body language from LeBron, that the agenda has been fulfilled. It was to get my son in the league because they ain't even talking about Bronny James no more. You know what I mean? He ain't even being talked about after they sent him down to the G League. You don't even see highlights of him playing down in G League, and he probably doing worse in the G League, just as worse in the G League that he was doing with the Lakers. So I think the whole agenda over there was to get rid of Darvin Ham because Darvin Ham wasn't with it. bring in a guy, JJ Redick, who was with it. That's probably why him and LeBron did the podcast together, because it wasn't a podcast where they was just sitting down talking. They was sitting down talking X's and O's from a coaching standpoint. And what do you know? Darvin Hams gets fired. And then you're talking X's and O's from a coaching standpoint with JJ Redick, and then boom, JJ Redick get hired as the head coach. Come on, put the two and two together. The agenda over there was to get Bronny in the league. They did that. They got Bron and Bronny on the floor together. The first time a father and son duo has ever been done like that in the NBA. They went ahead and got that out the way because they couldn't afford to allow an injury or something to happen to Bronny and delay that. So now they've gotten that out the way. The jersey, the money that they paid Bronny's contract, they probably got that back plus a ton more from jersey sales. So they got that money back. They've already fulfilled their agenda. Getting Bronny to the NBA, getting him on the floor in a Lakers jersey at the crypto, and on the road once with father-son duo. They've already fulfilled that. So, the Lakers done pretty much checked out. You can see the body language in LeBron. He's still playing at a high level, but the body language is just giving off, is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And he's deactivated his social media accounts. I'm not sure what all that was about, because we know LeBron does that during playoffs. But we sitting here in December. We ain't near the playoffs yet. And we don't even know if the damn Lakers going to make the playoffs. So deactivating your account in December, I get that you normally do that down at the end of the season in the playoffs so you can focus on playoffs. But we in December. We just hitting December, brother. You know what I mean? It ain't Christmas time yet, and you already deactivating your account. So it must be some other stuff going on right now. It must be the criticism about Bronny, or some people's. I don't know. Some people talking about the Diddy shit. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just reporting what they got out there. So don't get mad with me. Get mad at the people that's got it out there to be reported on. Anybody can look this shit up and give their own speculation and opinion. But that's what it is. I just don't see the Lakers doing much of nothing. You know what I mean? I think they're just going to be around that play-in, that 8, 9, 10 range. I don't think they're going to make a blockbuster move. I don't think nobody's biting on D'Lo and Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves and a 2029 draft pick. I don't think there's going to be enough to move the needle, especially when there's teams out there that have better packages with picks and players. You know what I mean? That's just me. And combined with the fact I don't think teams are going to really be prone to do business with the Lakers based off of Rich Paul, and them calling around allegedly threatening teams not to draft Bronny James. And if they did, they were just going to go overseas. I mean, that's just my opinion. You got the San Antonio Spurs, a game above 500 at the 10th spot. They're 11 and 10. Like I said, the Spurs are a team. I think that they got a floor general guy over there and a veteran guy over there in Chris Paul. Not looking for Chris Paul to carry this team, but he's going to be like the on the floor type coach for these young guys. Victor Wembanyama, he's going to set him up and show him how he needs to be set up as a big. You got Devin Vassell over there. Stephon Castle over there, the rookie drafted out of UConn. So, they're an up and coming team. They just ain't there yet. Like I said, Minnesota 10 and 10. The Karl Anthony Towns trade hurt them. There was really no reason, in my opinion, to bust that team up. That really just wasn't. It came out of left field. I think they should have ran that team back another year, at least until this year's trade deadline, and seeing where they needed to make additions and subtractions or whatever. But that just came out of left field, and right now the New York Knicks are getting the better end of that trade, and it's kind of hurting the Minnesota Timberwolves, because that team had just started getting chemistry, and being in the Western Conference Finals with a team that just started getting chemistry was dangerous. You know what I mean? And then they went and made a move that they didn't even have to make, that they shouldn't have made, and it really made no sense because it came out of left field at the last minute, and that really didn't make any sense in my opinion. Why they did the move? And as a result, they 500, they 10 and 10, and they just don't look the same. Sacramento, this one of them teams that I think they should be better than what they are. They 10 and 12. They 12 in the 12th seed in the Western Conference. I think when they added a veteran guy, over there like DeMar DeRozan, I think that was, that was solid. That was a guy that doesn't really command the ball. That's a guy that doesn't, he's not gonna kill you with the three, but he's a mid-range assassin. He know where he want to get to a spot on the floor, and he get there and he pull up, or he go all the way to the rack and he finish. So I like this team is clearly not the same team that they were 2 years ago. De'Aaron Fox had a couple games this year where I think he had a stretch this year where in 2 games he scored like 108, 109 points or something like that. He went off in 2 games. Malik Monk starting to have injury histories, injury concerns. I think when he's healthy, that's a good team. That's another scorer they can go to. Sabonis over there. I think they've got, to me, the Sacramento Kings got that's too good of a team for them to be where they at. I think they should be higher up. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what the deal is over there with the Sacramento Kings, but I actually like that team. They just not playing up to their potential because the team that they got, the roster that they got, they should be higher than the 12th seed in the West. And I get it, the Western Conference is a tough conference, but with the team that they got assembled, I think they should be better than the 12th seed with Mike Brown coaching them. Mike Brown is not a bad coach, and they do not have a bad roster. I'm not sure why they just can't seem to get it. With Kevin Hurt over there, Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis over there, Murray over there, the addition of DeMar DeRozan. You know what I mean? They should be better than the 12th seed in the West. I'm not sure what the issue was going on over there, but I like the roster. I like the team. I'm just not sure why they're not better than the 12th seed in the West right now. Portland, not really doing much. Utah, not doing much. The last seeded New Orleans Pelicans, I think they got a problem on their hand. Zion, you need to move him. You know what I mean? That he ain't the guy. That he ain't been the guy that you wanted to be, and he ain't been that since you drafted him. You know what I mean? I think Banchero in Orlando is the type of player that the New Orleans Pelicans hoped and wished that Zion would have turned into. You know what I mean, for that franchise. And he ain't turned into it. Brandon Ingram, you still got him in the back pocket. You can move him. You gonna move him or you gonna pay him. Them the only two options you got. Either you gonna move him or you gonna pay him, or you gonna it's gonna be another Paul George situation where you don't sign him, you don't sign him and you don't move him, and then he go in free agency somewhere else in free agency for nothing. You know what I'm saying? DeJounte Murray, they traded him over there. They lost Dyson Daniels, but they traded DeJounte Murray. Now, I thought the New Orleans Pelicans were going to be a much better team than this. I did not see them being last in the Western Conference with only 4 wins. I did not see that by a long shot. I had them being an actual 8th, 9th seed. You know what I'm saying? It's still a lot of time left in the season, but I damn sure didn't see this from the Pelicans. And I understand DeJounte Murray got hurt. It was either the first or second game of the season, and he just recently came back. That was a big part of it. CJ McCollum and Zion is just disappointing. You know what I mean? Like I said, they need to move Zion. I don't know why the hell they keep hitching their wagon to Zion when it's the same thing time after time after time after time. He gets injured, he misses a ton of time, and that ain't doing a damn thing for you. Like I said, Banchero over there in Orlando is what the New Orleans Pelicans was hoping that Zion would be for them. You know what I mean? But that ain't been the case. It's been far from that. You know what I'm saying? Now Zion has shown flashes when he has played, but when he do play, a lot of times he be on minute restriction. So they need to move off Zion. You know what I mean? He ain't doing a damn thing for you not playing. So why the hell are you having there? Because the same thing he's giving you not playing there is the same thing he can give you on somebody else's roster. He ain't giving it to you while he there, and he damn sure ain't gonna give it to you on nobody else's roster. It's the same damn thing. So what the hell you wasting time with Zion for? Move him, get what you can get, and figure out how you can move forward because you still got Brandon Ingram. Either you're gonna pay him, let him walk, or trade him. Them the only 3 options you got. And if you let him walk, that's the worst option because you can get something for him for trading. Like I said, it's gonna be another Paul George situation in which you don't trade him and he goes and walks in free agency and sign elsewhere, and you get absolutely nothing for Brandon Ingram. But yeah, that's just some early season NBA talk. Running down the Eastern Western Conference, running down these teams. Surprise teams that like I said, the Pelicans is one of the teams that I thought would be much better than what they are. The Houston Rockets is a team that I had making the playoffs, but I damn sure didn't have them being a 2 seed. at any point during this season, let alone now. I didn't have them being a 2 seed at no point this season. I had them being a team that could probably be eighth, ninth seed, borderline playing team, and then get into the playoffs that way. But I damn sure didn't see all this other stuff. And you're looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves, a Western Conference Finals team last year. They 10-10, 500 right now. They ain't even in the play. They ain't even in the play in. So it's a lot going on in the NBA right now. The Philadelphia 76ers is another disappointing team. Injuries, all kind of internal shit going on up there in the city of brotherly love. And it ain't so lovely right now. Because I already told you what I think they need to do. They need to demolition that thing. Because every time they try something, it don't work. It just don't. They snake bit somewhere from whatever reason. I don't know. Something must be going on that I don't know up there in Philly, but they snake bit. They can't get out their own way. And then once they try to make progress, other teams just come in and smack them around. You know what I mean? They can't get past the second round. This was a horrible start to the season. And they having internal issues within that organization, within that team. So this is not what you wanted if you the Philadelphia 76ers. But man, that's my time, man. Let me get out of here, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all. Just make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Head to YouTube. Damn You Too Sportstalk. Subscribe to the content. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when new content released. If you want to follow the sports page on IG, it's damn_you2_sports talk. Click the link in the bio. You can subscribe to the content that way. You can follow me personally on IG, Ralph_Sneaks, or follow me on X at damn you2 sports talk. It's all scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. Until the next one, man, y'all be safe.